All right, let's talk about debt. Not your credit card bill after a weekend in Vegas, but the kind that makes trillions look like pocket change national debt. That's right, countries owe money, a lot of it. Think of it like this. Every country has a giant credit card, and sometimes they use it for things they can't quite afford up front. Now, before you panic and start hiding your cash in the mattress, let's be clear. Having some debt isn't always a bad thing. Just like borrowing for a house or education can be smart, countries sometimes borrow to invest in their future. Think roads, schools, hospitals, stuff that benefits everyone. But, and this is a big but, too much debt can spell trouble. Imagine maxing out your credit card every month and only paying the minimum. The interest alone could bankrupt you. Countries aren't much different. Too much debt can cripple their economies and leave them begging for bailouts. So how do countries end up in debt in the first place? And is it always a disaster waiting to happen? Let's dive in and find out. Believe it or not, national debt has been around for centuries. Kings and queens borrowed to fund wars or build palaces. Today, governments borrow for infrastructure and social programs. Sometimes countries need to spend more than they take in through taxes. This could be due to economic downturns, disasters, or big projects, so they borrow by issuing bonds. Bonds are IOUs promising to repay with interest. Countries, banks, and individuals can buy these bonds. Debt can be a powerful tool for growth. Borrowing for infrastructure, education, or technology can boost the economy. It's like a business loan. Risky, but with potential for payoff. But too much debt can lead to problems. Overspending and corruption can create unmanageable debt, and that's when the alarm bells start ringing. Okay, so debt can be good or bad. It's like that ex who was great at first, but then turned out to be a total nightmare. The key is balance. A little bit of debt, managed responsibly, can be a good thing. It allows countries to invest in their future and weather unexpected storms. Think of it like taking out a mortgage. Sure, you have a debt, but you also have a house. And that house, hopefully, will appreciate in value over time, making the debt worthwhile. The same logic applies to countries investing in things like infrastructure or education. But just like that time you bought that fancy espresso machine you couldn't afford, debt can quickly turn sour. If a country borrows too much or spends recklessly, the interest payments alone can cripple its economy. This can lead to cuts in essential services, higher taxes, and a whole lot of economic pain. And here's the kicker. Countries, unlike you and me, can't exactly declare bankruptcy and start over. They're stuck with their debt, and if it gets out of control, it can have ripple effects across the globe. Section 4, My Country, Your Wallet, Similarities and Big Differences. Let's bring this back down to earth for a second. How is national debt similar to, the kind you and I have? Well, both involve borrowing money with the promise to pay it back later with interest. And just like with your credit card, the higher the debt, the more you end up paying in interest. But there are some key differences. First, countries have a few tricks up their sleeves that we don't. They can print more money, although that can lead to inflation, yikes. And they can also negotiate with their creditors for better repayment terms. Second, and this is a big one, national debt isn't just some abstract number on a spreadsheet. It represents real investments in the country's future. Those investments, like roads, schools, and hospitals, benefit everyone, not just the people who initially lent the money. So the next time you hear someone freaking out about national debt, remember this. It's not always a bad thing. Like most things in life, it's all about balance, responsible management, and maybe laying off the gold-plated infrastructure projects every now and then. Section 5. Debt all over. Winners, losers, and those just getting by. All right, time for some real-world examples. Let's start with the heavyweight champion of debt, Japan. They've got a debt-to-GDP ratio of over 250%, meaning their debt is more than twice the size of their entire economy. Yikes. But here's the thing, Japan's economy is still going strong and their interest rates are incredibly low. How do they do it? Well, it's complicated, but basically they borrow from themselves and have a high savings rate. On the other end of the spectrum, we have countries like Venezuela, where mismanagement, corruption, and economic turmoil have led to a full-blown debt crisis. Their economy is in shambles, inflation is through the roof, and people are struggling to afford basic necessities. Not exactly a success story. Then there's the United States, sitting somewhere in the middle. We've got a lot of debt, but we're also the world's largest economy, and people still trust the US dollar. But here's the catch. Our debt is growing, and if we don't get it under control, we could be headed for trouble. The point is, there's no one-size-fits-all answer to the national debt question. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions. But by understanding the basics, we can start to have more informed conversations about how to manage this global financial puzzle.